They say blood never lies. But what happens when that blood carries a secret that could destroy the entire kingdom? She was the king's bastard daughter, forgotten, rejected, forbidden. He, the loyal commander, the man sworn to protect the throne. But the heart obeys no crown. This is the story of the love that defied the king, and the betrayal the throne will never forget. Virilia is a kingdom built on alliances, oaths, and lies. Behind golden walls and lavish halls, the crown isn't held up by the love of the people, but by fear. And among all the whispers that crawl through the cold stones of the castle, there's one the king could never bury. A bastard daughter. A mistake carrying his blood, a secret the court pretends doesn't exist. Her name is Amorous, the king's living scar. The people don't know her face. In the palace, her name is whispered like a curse, or a warning. But she exists. Raised far from the palace walls, shaped by shame and silence, she learned early that royal blood doesn't grant power, it brings danger. Amorous grew up in the shadows. She learned to walk among lies, to survive where nobles fall like pawns on a chessboard. She carries the weight of being half royalty, half nothing. And now, for the first time, she has returned to the kingdom that rejects her. The king doesn't recognize her as his daughter. The people fear her as a scandal. The nobles watch her like a threat. But in Virilia, where fear rules and love is forbidden, even bastards can become weapons. And fate is already preparing the moment when Amorous's heart will become her greatest betrayal. His name is Aldrin, the commander of the royal guard. The man the king trusts above all, and the last person who should cross Amorous's path. Trained from childhood, loyal to the bone, Aldrin is the kingdom's shield. His word commands the soldiers. His presence demands respect and fear. To the king, Aldrin isn't just a warrior, he's the guardian of the crown's legacy, the one who ensures that shadows from the past never reach the throne. That's why, when Amorous returned to the palace, the king ordered him to watch her. Control her. Make sure the bastard never became a problem. But no man is prepared for what the heart doesn't understand. When Aldrin's eyes met hers, duty wavered. It wasn't love at first sight, it was recognition. Two prisoners of blood and fate. He, the soldier forbidden to surrender. She, the bastard who will never be accepted. And between them, the invisible line of the impossible. It was just a look. A stolen moment in the cold palace corridors. But for Amorous, it was enough. Aldrin should have been the enemy, the king's hound, the guard holding the chains that kept her prisoner to her origin. But in that look, she didn't see the soldier. She saw the man. He was there to watch her. Every step, every breath, every move under his trained eyes. But what Aldrin saw was unexpected. Behind her defiant posture and bastard blood, there was loneliness. Pain. And something more dangerous than any weapon, truth. Amorous stared back, unafraid. She knew what he represented. She knew, for the king, Aldrin was pure loyalty, steel forged in obedience. But she also knew how to see the cracks. And behind the commander's hard gaze, there were doubts. And where there are doubts, danger blooms. They didn't speak. They didn't dare. The palace has ears. The walls, eyes. But the silence between them spoke louder than 1,000 oaths. In that moment, Aldrin knew, the greatest threat wasn't the king's orders, but his own heart. They tried to avoid it. To stay apart. To pretend the palace was big enough to keep their distance. But fate has its own plans. And in Virilia, where power commands all paths, even coincidences, are traps of the heart. In empty corridors, shadowed gardens, forgotten halls, their eyes kept meeting. By chance? Maybe. Or maybe, desire was hunting them both, like a predator in the dark. Every word, every stolen glance, every prolonged silence, made it worse. Aldrin knew what he was risking. His loyalty, his future, his life. But the royal commander wasn't made of steel alone. Behind the orders and the armor, there was still a man. A man whose heart was no longer under his control. And Amorous? She was the scandal the king tried to bury. The forgotten heir. But she wouldn't bow. Wouldn't cower. In her eyes, Aldrin saw the rebellion he himself had buried for years. And with each hidden meeting, each stolen touch, each unspoken desire, the inevitable crept closer. It was the beginning of the end. Of duty. Of reason. Of safety. And in its place, something dangerous was born. Forbidden, suffocating, impossible, but unstoppable. The palace has eyes. The walls, ears. In Virilia, no one is ever truly alone, and love, when forbidden, echoes louder than footsteps. It didn't take long for the whispers to start. Suspicious looks. Servants gossiping. Soldiers watching too closely. The nobles sense scandal before it's even born. And in Amorous's shadow, danger was already crawling. Some wanted her gone. Others, dead. And Aldrin? Was he still the loyal soldier, or the silent traitor? Even the commander no longer knew. Through shadows and empty halls, their meetings continued. Stolen kisses. Quiet words hidden by the night. Their hands trembled. Their whispered words carried the weight of the impossible. And with every touch, every prolonged glance, every forbidden moment, the risk grew. In Virilia, the price of desire always comes painted in blood. The king of Virilia is no fool. To rule a kingdom built on lies, you need sharp eyes and sharper instincts. And even among banquets and political games, he sees. He always sees. The whispers reached the throne. And suspicions turned to dangerous certainty. Amorous's presence at court was already an insult. But a romance with the commander? A scandal that could topple the fragile balance of the kingdom. To the king, Aldrin was pure loyalty. A shield. A hound trained to obey. But even hounds bite. Aldrin felt the king's gaze. Cold. Calculating. Deadly. The orders had been clear: watch the bastard. Control her. Not love her. And now, the commander carried not just the weight of his armor, but the burden of a heart that had betrayed the throne. Amorous, in turn, knew exactly what was at stake. Every step, every word, every lingering glance toward Aldrin pulled her deeper into the abyss. But fear? Fear was no longer enough to silence her heart. And in the game of power, desire, and betrayal, one thing was certain: someone would pay the price. That night, the palace fell silent. Even the candles dared not flicker. The air carried the weight of what was about to happen. Amorous walked among shadows, her heart at war with her duty, desire screaming louder than fear. Aldrin was waiting. Not as a soldier. Not as a commander. But as a man. A man who had lost his loyalty and found love. His eyes begged her to run, yet burned with surrender. Words failed. Silence devoured them. And when their lips met, there was no turning back. The kiss was desperate, reckless, heavy with everything they tried to deny. In that kiss lived royal blood, broken loyalty, the future, and their downfall. Because in Virilia, a kiss can be deadlier than any sword. And in that moment, their fates were sealed. The kiss didn't stay secret. Not in Virilia. The walls, the servants, the hungry eyes for scandal, everything conspired against them. It didn't take long. The whispers became accusations. And the accusations reached the throne. The king needed no proof, only diverted glances. The flush on Amoris's face. The heavy silence from Aldrin. Betrayal wasn't just in their actions, it burned in their eyes. In hearts that dared defy the throne. The sentence was swift. For Amoris, exile. For Aldrin, dishonor or death. But the king underestimated one force even he couldn't command, the burning desire of two hearts that chose love over obedience. And in both of them burned the certainty that escape was their only choice. The castle slept, but the traitors didn't. While the walls protected the king and his secrets, Amoris and Aldrin moved through the shadows, every step echoing as a challenge to fate. There was no turning back. The crown had condemned them. Love had set them free. Aldrin knew every corridor, every hidden passage. Years of loyalty now turned against the king himself. And Amoris? She carried in her eyes the fury of rejection, the pride of rebellion, and the blood that could shake the throne. The alarm bells rang. Guards scrambled. Gates slammed shut. But it was too late. Through darkness, alleys, and forests, they vanished. Condemned, hunted, but free. And in their hearts burned not only forbidden love, but the desire to one day return. Not for forgiveness, but for revenge. And you, what would you have done? Betrayed your heart or your king? Turned your back on love or defied the crown, knowing the price was your life? In Virilia, love is forbidden, loyalty has a price, and freedom is paid for in blood. Some say Amoris and Aldrin disappeared forever. Others swear they will return, scarred and burning with vengeance. Because in a kingdom ruled by fear, sometimes love is the greatest act of rebellion. If you want to hear more forbidden love stories, hidden betrayals, and passions that shake kingdoms, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because the next secret is already whispering through the shadows.